Ooh, let's have a cup of tea. Okay, so I'm standing next to the C63. It's a little bit dirty. It's got some bug splats on it and stuff. You know, it's a white car. It does need a bit of a clean, but the real dirt is underneath the bonnet. So let's have a look. I bought the car about 5 months ago and specifically asked for the engine bay not to be clean so that I could see if there were any leaks. I've done a few thousand miles in the car now and I'm happy that I can trust it for the time being. So now it's time to get rid of all this dirt and grime. I have no idea how to do this, so with a little help from the Chris Fix YouTube channel, I looked at what I would need. Unfortunately, once I'd added all of the products that I was required to buy into my Amazon basket, the total came to £46. I can't help to think that has something to do with Chris's Amazon Associates program. So I've devised my own cleaning kit at 30% of the price. It features mostly household items, a black bin liner, some paintbrushes from the shed, including various sizes, some longer to reach into difficult places, some old microfiber cloths, and make sure that yours are cleaner than mine if you do use some old ones, an old towel, a spray bottle from the ironing cupboard, this is to mix the washing up liquid and water in, spray wax, however make sure that you buy the right one, mine is for a black car apparently, so that's not going to work, trim restorer, and some £1.50 cleaning wipes from B&M Bargains. For the engine bay on the C63 there's a few items that I know I can remove easily and give more access, as well as allowing me to clean them off the car more thoroughly. This includes the airbox, which is covered in watermarks as you can see. The first step is to remove all of the loose dirt, dust and road grime from the car. I did this with one of the paintbrushes and a hoover close to the paintbrush, although you can see from this camera angle that I still missed some of the loose dirt, and I'm probably going to stop this voiceover now just to go and clean the bits that I can see from this camera angle. An area that can't be forgotten is the bonnet. Mine was covered with watermarks, dust, and the liner had some feathers and straw on it. If your bonnet liner is heavily soiled, I'd recommend taking a trim tool to the clips and removing it entirely from the metal so you can clean it off the car. It was at this point that I decided to remove the decorative piece on top of the engine, as I was finding it difficult to clean the oil filter and cam covers with it in place. Again, the same process is needed here to remove all of the loose dirt from this area. So that's the dry cleaning done. Next up is the wet clean. For this, I've put some washing up liquid into a spray bottle with warm water and given it a thorough shake. Starting on the bonnet, I used the kitchen cleaning towels and thoroughly scrubbed away, probably spending about 30 minutes on this alone. I started on one side of the engine bay with the same method, spraying with the bottle and then scrubbing with the cleaning towels. It's quite a daunting process when you have such a large engine, so I'd recommend splitting it into two halves. You might have noticed that I'm not using a hose or a bucket with this method of cleaning, as this will require me to disconnect the battery, and I deliberately wanted to make this as simple as possible. I read on some online articles about the C63 battery removal process, and I wasn't sure whether it would affect the settings on the vehicle such as the infotainment screen and radio. And there were some mixed reviews about this, some even stating that their cars required recoding after disconnecting the battery, so I've left this for some further research on another day. The whole process is actually quite therapeutic, but it does help to have small hands as there really isn't much room inside the C63 engine bay. I sustained 3 cuts during this process, and when I think about it this is obvious, but the larger your engine, the longer this process will take. The W204 features large black plastic wheel arch liners that are quite difficult to get to on the C63, and these were heavily soiled. I found that after cleaning, some of the water was drying on the plastic and leaving small watermarks. I decided to wipe it away immediately so that it didn't have the opportunity to dry, and for this I used a yellow microfiber towel. I also took this opportunity to clean the airbox whilst it was off the car. The hinges on my car had been heavily greased, as in I found the records in the service history and someone had greased them every year, year in, year out.
Someone's absolutely coated this in grease.
Looking at the hinges, they hadn't cleaned the old grease off, so it was a bit of a nightmare trying to lift it with some washing up liquid. This is an area that I've highlighted will need coming back to with a degreaser, something a bit stronger than fairy. Next step is to deploy the secret weapon, and that is the trim restorer. This stuff is highly addictive, and once you see its effect you'll end up putting it on everything you own, including your computer keyboard. I applied the trim restorer with a brush, waited a few minutes, and then buffed with a microfiber towel. Here you can see the difference between the piece of the intake that I have applied it to and where I haven't. I started off using a wheel lug nut brush, but the bristles started coming away quite easily, so I switched to an old paintbrush. Here is a shot showing the difference between the left hand side that has been trim restored and the right hand side that hasn't. This step was my favourite and I found it highly addictive polishing up all the pieces. If I'd bought the correct wax spray, it would also be the stage at which I would apply the wax to the inside of the bonnet. I placed the airbox back into position after applying the trim restorer on that also, and finished the engine bay off with the cover and the shiny 3-pointed star. All in all, these items cost me a total of £13.50, 1/3 the price of the £46 of Chris Fix's YouTube recommendation, and I think the results look just as good. There are some areas that still need improving. I found it hard to remove all of the water spots from the paint on the bonnet, and the hinges require some degreaser to remove the rest of the grime. All in all, this process took me around 6 hours with filming, and I would imagine I could have shaved off an hour or so if the cameras weren't switched on. And here's an idea of how many of those kitchen towels that I used to clean my engine. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps me out. Make sure you're subscribed to see more, and thank you very much for watching.